everybody, I'm Elizabeth Hines from OurPaleoFamily.com, and I have a super duper simple recipe for you tonight. It's so simple that I wouldn't even hardly call it a recipe, but it's delicious, and so I wanted to share it with you. And this was inspired by our Super Bowl feast last week, and we had some hot wings, some chicken wings, and they were delicious. And so we're just going to make buffalo chicken. I have in my refrigerator just little bits of things that are left from the week, and I have a little bit of sweet potatoes that were roasted, a little bit of regular yellow potatoes. I have some butternut squash, and a bunch of green veggies. So I'm going to heat up all those starches, and those will be a base for my buffalo chicken. But there are lots of different things you can do with this, kind of like that salsa chicken I did in the Instant Pot a while ago. This is kind of the same way. So we're going to make the chicken, and then you can do with it what you want. So let me show you how to do it. So this is 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and the total is 1.5 pounds. That will work for my family. You could very easily do more. I've talked quite a bit about my histamine intolerance. Protein will release histamine after it's cooked especially, and so I can't do leftovers, and poultry is one of the worst. So if you can eat leftovers, by all means put a lot of chicken in there, several pounds at least, but this will feed us for this meal, and that will be good for us. So I think about a cup of liquid is generally good for your Instant Pot. I've certainly made things where I've used a little bit less than that, but I actually want my chicken to cook in this liquid. Sorry, I got a haircut and have this little section that's too short to stick back. It's driving me crazy. So what I have here, my cooking liquid, is 1/2 cup of coconut milk, which is full fat coconut milk, and it was actually very heavy on the fat at the top, the cream. I just melted it in the microwave so that I could actually measure it accurately and have a liquid going in there. And then I've mixed that with Frank's Red Hot, which has a great flavor. I've never been like a buffalo chicken wing kind of person until I tried this, and I really love it. And it's actually Whole30 approved. As far as I understand, the ingredients are very simple: cayenne peppers, vinegar, water, salt, and garlic powder. And it's hot for me. I'm not a real spicy food lover, but I really like the flavor of this, and if I mix it with something else, it tempers that heat. And so a great way to temper the heat is some kind of fat. So I'm going to cook with my coconut milk, my full fat coconut milk, and if it's still too hot at the end, I'm going to add some clarified butter, which of course will be delicious, but it will also help to tone down the heat a little bit. So I'm just going to pour this over my chicken, get all that yummy goodness out. If you look on the internet, you will find lots of different suggested cooking times for boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And I don't know what to tell you other than you have to experiment and figure out what works. This is a chicken hand, so I'm going to try to do everything with my right hand, though I'm left-handed. So I'm going with 10 minutes because that's what I find works for me. If you were using dark meat chicken, which would be delicious, you can cook dark meat a lot longer, but white meat is not very forgiving. It's not dinging, so I don't think it's plugged in. So you don't want to overcook your white meat. So I've got this on sealing, and you could use the poultry setting if you want. Poultry setting is just high pressure, so I just do manual. I want high pressure, and I want 10 minutes. And it'll take between 5 and 7 minutes for this to come up to pressure. When it's done, I'll let it depressurize on its own for about 5 minutes, and then I'll release the pressure, and I'll show you what we do with it from there. Okay, so our chicken cooked for 10 minutes. It really did come up to pressure very quickly, and I let the pressure come down naturally for 5 minutes, and then I did a quick release, and it just finished in a few seconds. So you can see what it looks like. My chicken's cooked in this nice creamy orangish sauce, combination of my coconut milk and my buffalo sauce. And then I'm just going to shred the meat because that's the way I want it. We're going to kind of do it like nachos tonight. So you could do this any number of ways. You can use 2 forks. It would be easier if you actually took it out of the Instant Pot, but I'm just being lazy, I guess, and leaving it in here. So I'm going to kind of hold on with my tongs and shred it with my fork. And before I put it in, I cleaned it. So, you know, even boneless, skinless chicken breasts will have usually some little pieces of fat on them and like a little tendony piece or something like that. And it's really hard to find it until you bite into it once they're cooked. But it's really easy to see all of that when it is raw. So that's the way I do it. I am going to take it out because it's just, it was steeping me in there and I was not enjoying that. So I'm just going to pull my piece out and shred it, and then I'll put it back in. And at this point, you can do with this what you like. So I told you at the outset I was going to heat up some leftover potatoes. You can see there I have a little bit of roasted sweet potato, some Yukon Gold potatoes, and some butternut squash from previous meals where all the protein was eaten, and we're just left with those root veggies. So I just put those in the oven, 375. They had cooked in oil originally, so there was some oil in them. So I didn't add anything. I simply put them on that little pan and put them in the oven while my chicken cooked and while I fried up my plantain, simply because my plantain was perfectly ripe today. I don't like them overly ripe because then they're sweet and soft, and I like them not super sweet. I'm not sure if I got this out when I started talking about shredding the meat, but you can use a hand mixer and stick that down in there and blend that up as well. But I'm just doing it this way. I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to turn saute on. So it's going to stay warm, but it'll help that liquid reduce a little bit. Once I get all this shredded and back in, I'm going to taste it and see if I need to add anything. It just is different sometimes. I don't know. The bird's different. The coconut milk was different. Sometimes I feel like it's spicier, and sometimes I feel like it's less spicy. Maybe it's just my taste buds. Sometimes I have a stronger or a higher tolerance for the heat. So starting with this tonight, we just have a bunch of raw veggies and some ranch dressing / dip. Oh, there's a piece I haven't shredded. So the ranch dressing and dip is in my book, Your Paleo Holiday, which you can get on iTunes. You can get it from Amazon. You can download it directly from my website. Or you can just go back and watch another one of my videos. Back on when I did all those Whole30 videos, I think it was day 2. It was the one where I made the chicken Cobb salad bowls. I made the ranch dressing in that video. So you can buy the book for $10 and get all the other yummy recipes, or you can just go back and watch that video and write it down. But that recipe is not on my website. But this recipe is on my website. I get a lot of comments from people saying, where can I find this recipe? So you can either write it down while you're watching the video, or you can go to my website. If I put a video up, the recipe's on my website. And that's not to say I don't sometimes make a mistake, or maybe we accidentally post the video before I get the recipe posted, but we try really hard not to do that. So you can look up in the top right hand corner, those little white sort of banners that come across. Those are called cards, and there should be a card that's a link to my website for that particular recipe. So you can click on that, or down in the description. I didn't do this originally, so you may or may not find this on an older video, but I'm starting to also add a link to the recipe in just the description of the video, so you can look in both of those places. So we have our raw veggies, our ranch dip, our starch. I have an avocado, half of an avocado I'm going to slice, and I'm going to taste this to see how spicy it is. It's kind of spicy, honestly. And I really want this to thicken up a little bit. So I can do one of two things. I can make a slurry with arrowroot and water, which is going to be a starchier option, or I can keep it lower carb and use my glucomannan, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to grab my glucomannan, make a little slurry, add that to it while it's bubbling, and I'm going to pour in some of my clarified butter. That was about a tablespoon because the fat in the clarified butter will help tame the heat a little bit. It's a little too hot for me. Just my experience with working with this much liquid, I'm going to want a half a teaspoon of this glucomannan and some water, so about a quarter of a cup of water, maybe a little bit less. Just pour that right in and it will thicken that up. Because I don't want my chicken to have just sort of bathed in the sauce. I want some of that sauce. I want to eat it with my veggies and stuff. So I want it to be thicker. So it's more like a gravy consistency. That's just what I want. You don't have to do that. So again, like I said at the beginning, you can do any number of things with this. You can eat it like I'm eating it. You can make nachos. You can serve it over a baked sweet potato, which would be very paleo of you. I'm going to turn that off. And this will be delicious as well. You could add a whole bunch of chicken broth. You could add some carrots, some celery, some onions, rice if you do rice, and make a soup. That would be delicious. And if you were going to do that, I would add a whole can of coconut milk. You definitely want that extra creaminess. So here you go, buffalo chicken in the Instant Pot. It was simply chicken breast, my buffalo sauce, which in this case is Frank's Red Hot, because that's what I like, and it is paleo approved, and coconut milk that I added a little clarified butter at the end, and some glucomannan to thicken, but you certainly didn't have to do that. You didn't have to add the clarified butter either. That might have been just the right spiciness for you. And then we'll have our little buffalo chicken nacho feast. So you can find this recipe on my website, like I said, ourpaleofamily.com. The recipe is called Buffalo Chicken, and it will be there for you, and so you do not have to worry about writing down the recipe as you watch the video. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.